Hello, fellow Rebel Capitals. Hope you're well. Wanted to go over actually a couple videos from my YouTube channel. We posted a whiteboard last night that's doing very well. Probably it'll perform the best of any video we've had so far. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity to go over why that video is performing well for those of you who are creating content. I know we don't get as many views on these types of videos as we typically get, but a lot of people come up to me at the live events, such as Rebel Capitalist Live, and say, thank you very much for doing those kind of behind the scenes tutorials. It's really helped me out a lot. So that's why I'll continue to do them periodically. But I also think that in looking at these couple videos and kind of juxtaposing them and figuring out, why we're doing X versus Y, it'll help you. It'll give you a great life lesson as well. Regardless of whether you're an entrepreneur or just trying to succeed at whatever it is you're doing in life, I think there are some lessons to be learned from what we have done as a team with the YouTube channel. And then also, I think we can compare the George Gammon channel as and use that as an example of what to do. And then we can compare that to the Rebel Capitalist channel and use that as an example of what not to do. and it'll be great. All right, so let's shoot over to the George Gammon channel. Hopefully it's pulled up here. Yes, it is. Okay, good. So, excuse me. When I log into YouTube, this is what I see. This is the admin dashboard, I guess you could call it. And it gives you the ranking of the last 10 videos that you do, and it shows you how many views. And you guys can see right here, right off the bat, that the whiteboard videos get way more views than the interviews. But I continue to do the interviews just mainly for the podcast, and also because I just like talking to people who are a lot smarter than I am. And that's pretty much the main reason for doing it. So, but more specifically, what I want to do is get into a couple videos. So let's actually, let me figure out how to do this here. All right, so let's go to your channel. And then we'll go to videos. Hello. And that intro video, by the way, I need to change that too. But let's go to sort by date oldest. And I want to just quickly go over 30 seconds from one of the first whiteboard videos I did, and then compare it, excuse me, to this most recent whiteboard video, which will most likely be the most successful video we've done in terms of views. And then this is, in and of itself, I think is the lesson, not only for content creators, but also just a life lesson in general. So let's see which one of these. Oh, there's one. Or it might even be one before that, though. Your pension. That's a vlog. The housing market risky. This might be one right here. The best way to burn fat and get that's not me. That's an ad. And that's when we started. Here we go. All right. So the first lesson that you can learn is start. Whatever it is you're planning to do, whatever it is you have in your mind, whether it's an entrepreneurial venture, whether it's a YouTube channel, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a brick and mortar business, it doesn't matter. Start. Do it. Take action. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make in life is they sit there and they plan all of these things in advance for years and years out. I'm going to do this and this and this. And if they don't have their plan perfectly set up, then they won't take action. It should be the complete opposite. You should, in fact, I would almost argue it's counterproductive to have a plan. You just start, because whatever your plan is today, I can guarantee you in 2 weeks or a month, it's going to be different, because there are all these variables that will come into the equation that you could not have foreseen. So you can sit there and plan for months on end and have just a business plan that you scrutinize, or you can watch every single video on how to set up a perfect YouTube channel and how to do thumbnails and blah 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 blah, all these things. And those are good. I'd strongly suggest watching those types of videos, but don't do that in lieu of starting. You start first. You take action. And you say, oh, George, no one's going to watch my videos because they suck. Okay, yeah, right. And show me the person on YouTube that didn't suck. Show me that person. In fact, I would argue that the worse you are, as long as you are iterating, and we'll get to that in a moment, the better you're going to be, because you make all the mistakes. If you're pretty good from the beginning, then you're just going to have to make these mistakes as you go through your YouTube journey. And who knows, that could be 6 months down the road until you make a specific mistake that you can fix. Maybe it's a year. But if you suck right at the beginning, you're going to make all those mistakes right away. So you can fix them a lot faster. But going back to the original point with this one. So, what was funny too is when I first started doing these whiteboard videos with all the green plants around there, when I stopped doing that, a lot of the people in the comments section were actually bummed out that I didn't have like the jungle theme anymore. So, but why did I do this? Okay. So we were trying to do I was trying to do these videos on, things like the housing market and U.S. mortgage debt. And I would try to do it like Graham Stephan. I remember originally I would watch, I was really intrigued by Graham and Meet Kevin. And I've never met Graham. I've never spoken with him, but actually now I'm actually, I don't know if I'd say I'm good buddies with Meet Kevin, but I know him pretty well. We text back and forth every once in a while. And I helped him with some stuff that he did in California when he was running for political office. But my point is, I try to do these videos where I just look at the camera and talk about the U.S. housing market, and then we'd cut and go to another area to mix up the background to give it some variety to keep the viewer engaged. And I was terrible. I couldn't do it because I couldn't remember the lines. Because I was, as most of you know, I was horrible in school. I almost flunked out of high school. And just trying to remember the lines and regurgitate, it just didn't work. So what I did is I had Sebastian, who was my assistant at the time, go down to Office Depot and just get this whiteboard that you guys see in the screen right here. Because I figured that if I could write notes and draw up on the whiteboard, then I could just explain to the camera what was already on the whiteboard. I wouldn't have to remember the lines, and I could speak in a way that was slightly intelligent, or before it was completely incoherent. So the problem though is when we got the whiteboard, we didn't have a stand. And in Columbia, it's not like just going to an Office Depot here. They had one, but the Office Depot just sucks. It's more like a craft store. And so they didn't have one of those nice stands that we have in the States, an easel, I think they called them. So I thought, well, where can I put this thing? And the only place that really fit where I could put the whiteboard that would fit where, as far as the frame where I could stand up, was this area in my apartment, which was the area that we set up to put a jacuzzi. So that's why there's all these green plants around there in this wood that you can see just behind me on the laptop. is this was an area to put like a bunch of liquor and everything for the jacuzzi, but I'm actually standing on a wood platform, again, where you'd put a hot tub. And even then, you can see that I have to have the computer behind me to look down at my notes periodically, because even the whiteboard, I still can't remember all the data points that I wanted to go over. So now let's watch a couple seconds of it, and you can see how dramatically different the editing was back then and the delivery than it is today. Interest rate bull market, where interest rates went down for 40 years. More on that later. And then we get up to 2000, it really starts to go up. And then in 2009, it hits that peak of 14.5 trillion. Today, there's 15 plus trillion dollars in the U.S. mortgage debt market. And as we know, the housing crash in 2009 was a result of a debt bubble. In today's market, we've got even more debt. Number two. Well, actually, that wasn't too bad. Let me try to start at the beginning here. Hi, guys. In today's video, I'm going to go ahead and answer the question, is the U.S. housing market as risky now as it was in 2006? Okay, so this is one of the first videos. Now let's go, because that wasn't too far off from what we do today. So let's go back, because we want to look at some iterations here. Let's try.
Some people blessed by luck, while others are not so lucky. Pay attention to this story.
Helen Hansel was able to
know about house hacking, and I'm going to show you why it's the best financial decision you can possibly make. Who doesn't want to get rich living for free? And stay tuned to the Okay, so what you can, this is a video where we tried to insert sound effects. You could hear the cha-ching, you could hear so every single, every, I don't know what it was, 10 seconds or something, when we'd have the words come up, we'd also have sound effects. This is something that I wanted to try just to see how it works. This is one of the main lessons I wanted to share with you guys today. Is you have to continually iterate, and change things. And especially at the beginning like this, you just try, if it comes to mind, try it. Just take action. And you can't sit there and worry about whether it's going to suck or you're going to look like an idiot. Or, yes, you are. You're going to suck. You're going to look like an idiot. You're going to look like a moron. Who cares? If that's, listen, if the worst thing that happens to me today is you all think I look like an idiot, I'm okay with that. That's a pretty good day. If that's the worst thing that's going to happen to me, is some random people on YouTube think I'm a moron, great, no problem. Next. So you got to sit there and throw things up against a wall to see what sticks. Now, this is something that I learned very early on as an entrepreneur, not just with the YouTube channel. So this applies to any type of business you're starting or you're running, where you've just you've got something to try it, analyze it, see what works, see what doesn't work, do more of what works and less of what doesn't. But you've got to be willing to make mistakes. That's for sure. And this, as you guys can notice, was a huge mistake. Well, it wasn't a mistake because it's good to do. But as far as incorporating sound effects, that's not something we wanted to continue to do, because as soon as I did this in the comments, everyone was like, this is terrible. Get rid of those sound effects. It's hurting my ears. I just want to watch a damn whiteboard video. Why do you have all those stupid ringing bells? But, hey, maybe it would have worked. You never know, but you got to try it. With house hacking. Let's dive right in. First of all,
house hacking. House hacking is
See,
the practice
the
of
bell.
buying a property that has multiple
See,
units to rent.
you guys get it. I'm sure if I keep going, it'll drive you crazy. But so back up prior to the YouTube channel, we had a TV show here in Medellin called Vida en Remodelación. And I won't go into how that started, but I was the executive producer. So, and I was in the show and I was the director and pretty much everything else. But I had to figure out how to really edit and create a reality show, and like one of these HGTV shows. And I found that they cut often, and you've got to do things every 4 or 5 seconds, not necessarily sound effects, but you've got to do things every 4 or 5 seconds to keep that person engaged. Now, with reality TV, you can do that by cutting different camera angles and cutting to B-roll. Here, we couldn't really cut to different camera angles and B-rolls. That's why I incorporated the sound effects, because I thought that may work in lieu of having a 3-camera setup, or in lieu of having B-roll. Like if I'm doing a whiteboard video now, ironically enough, and we'll get to that in last night's video, we actually do incorporate B-roll, and the editors do it extremely well, which is one of the reasons why the videos do so well. But all of that know-how and that understanding and that psychological process and the understanding how the viewers engage and stay connected to the video, all of that came from doing the TV show in 2019. It's just incorporating those tricks into the whiteboard. So my point here is I was trying to incorporate those tricks into, or those strategies into the whiteboard videos here, and just not doing it very well. But it's just trying things over and over and over and over again. And again, you look at what works, what doesn't, you do more of what works and less of what doesn't, and you continue to iterate. So I don't think we need to go over any other videos. I mean, we went from these to, let me see if I can find something a little more where we went from the green thing, and then I started doing it because the lighting was giving us issues because we didn't have any drapes over those windows. So based on whether it was a cloudy day, it would screw up the lighting on the camera. So we were able to go into the guest bedroom, and I took out the mattress, and we actually set up a whiteboard on top of the bed. So whenever I do the whiteboard videos, I was literally standing in a bed frame. So let's see, maybe this one is like that. Oh, so this is where we're trying. Okay, so this is where I was trying to incorporate some different scenes and different setups to keep people engaged, going from the whiteboard to something else, then back to the whiteboard, and telling stories, and but it's still with the green thing. But again, you can see now we're trying to do it at night, so we can eliminate the variable of the lighting coming through that window where we don't have any drapes. So you can see again how the changes have been made, even more changes, but yet we still haven't gotten to, let me get down. I think Rickards, yeah, there we go.
Jim Rickards thinks gold is going to 10 to 50,000.
Okay, so here, what am I doing? I'm doing it different. I'm trying to do a different type of intro with a lot of energy to get people engaged right away. So why was I doing that? Because when I was looking at the analytics, I was seeing that you can look at the video, the retention rate, the retention graph, and I saw that in the first like 30 seconds, we were losing, like it would go from 100% down to like 60%, really super fast. And so I'm like, man, we're losing like 40% of the audience in the first 30 seconds. So maybe if I try to increase the energy and really go over the top, then it would at least, even if people think it's annoying, at least it would kind of wake them up and make them want to watch a little bit more. Does that work? Not really. But again, it's another example of what we were doing at the beginning And what I've done pretty much on every business I've started that's actually been successful is I just continue. I don't have a plan. I didn't plan this from the beginning. I didn't plan like 2 months into the channel, I'd move into the bedroom. And then, you know, I didn't plan on having the issue with I didn't even plan on doing whiteboard videos. So I didn't, none of this, there's no plan. You just but you have to be comfortable with that. And very few people are. So I think that's maybe one of the main lessons that you can take from this video. But so but bottom line here is I saw that retention graph really suck. And so I'm like, how do I do this? So let's try to add a lot of energy at the beginning of the video.
$1,000 an ounce. I think it might even go higher than that, up to 100,000 an ounce. I'm going to tell you why right now in 3 simple, fast steps.
See, so you guys watching this say, "Oh, that's kind of cringy, and it's too much. It's too much energy, and it sounds fake." And yeah, I get it. I agree, but the point is not to look cool. The point is not to look sophisticated. The point is to do everything you can possibly think of, even if it makes you look like a complete jackass, so you can figure out what works and what doesn't. And if nothing else, you'll learn from this video that I have no problem making myself look like a jackass. All right, so let's now go to most recent video. And that's last night's. And this one, you know, it doesn't say this is a kind of not a real-time number, but it's probably got, well, you guys saw at the beginning. I don't want to go back to that admin page, but it's maybe, call it 85, 90,000 views in the first 14 hours. So you figure the first day it'll have maybe 150,000 views. That's good. At least for me, that's really good. That'll probably be our best performing video, at least within that time frame. So let's start from the beginning here.
Have you ever looked for private jet charter prices online? Did you notice that there are so many prices out there for the
Hi. So I have a confession to make. I may have been wrong about inflation. I just discovered some new information that I'm going to reveal to you today, right now, that has me second guessing.
Okay. So you see that I'm taking the exact same concepts that I used in the TV show, and I'm applying them to this whiteboard video. But I wasn't able to go from the TV show to this in one step. It took me a lot of different steps to where you can come up with something that's polished or more polished. And not that I'm continuing to try to improve, obviously. But you can't go from the TV show to a great YouTube video. That's going from A to Z. You've got to go from A to B to C to D to E. You've got to walk before you can run. And you guys just saw in real time there that walking phase through the YouTube channel. Because again, what you saw in the first, just whatever, 16 seconds here, same concepts that we were using in the TV show, same concepts I was trying to implement in those previous whiteboard videos, but just not doing very well, right? I tried to implement that I tried to keep people's engagement at the very beginning by going way, way over the top. Okay, well, that wasn't a very good idea. We tried to keep people's engagement by using all these bells and whistles. Okay, not a good idea. But what that does is that brings us to where we are today, where I can achieve those objectives, those strategies that we learned on the TV show in a way that's more powerful for a whiteboard presentation. So notice what we're doing here.
I have a confession to make.
I have a confession to make. Why am I starting the video that way? Because it's going to keep people's attention. Remember the retention graph? When we're losing 40% of the people in the first 30 seconds, what I'm doing there is I'm making sure that we don't, you're always going to lose people. But now we go from, 100%, now we go from 100% down to maybe 80% in the first 30 seconds, which is actually very, very good for a YouTube video, where before we were going from, let's say 100 down to 60%. So again, same concept, just delivered in a way that's far more effective.
I may have been wrong.
Okay, I may have been wrong about inflation. So why is the editor throwing this up on the screen? Because this is what we're doing, going back to the TV show, where we're trying to insert some sort of effect. We're trying to do something different. We're trying to change something as much as we can without it being busy, so we keep people engaged. Listen, I've said this many times. If my videos were simply me talking in front of a whiteboard, that's it, with no editing, or just normal edits that normal YouTubers do, where, if they just mess up, they start over and you just have those cuts. But I'm talking about all of these sophisticated edits that the editors do. We just crossed over the 400,000 sub threshold. I would be shocked if the channel would have 10,000 subscribers. It's all about the little things. If I were just standing in front of a whiteboard talking, that's not going to keep people engaged, no matter how much you like the repo market or you want to learn about quantitative easing or blah, 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 blah. It's not going to keep people as engaged as with these types of edits. So if you look at your retention graph, the average retention rate may be, especially on a video like this that I do, it's only 12 minutes. My retention rate is like 70%. That is staggering for a whiteboard video of this length. Usually, you're good if you can get over 50%. And if I was just standing in front of a whiteboard with no edits, it'd probably be 20%, 30%, something like that. And that makes all the difference in the eyes of the algorithm as well.
About inflation. I just discovered some new information.
Look, see how they're putting new information up there? Why are they doing that? Same thing. It's just an edit simply to keep people engaged. Now, when going back to a time frame between that last video we watched and this one, what the editors would do is they would randomly put up words. So where we've really improved is I've tried to work with them and say, okay, when we're putting up words, let's not only do it for the sake of B-roll. We just call, we're not using that term correctly. This is how we say it, because we just use TV terms. But I'd say instead of just putting up B-roll for the sake of B-roll, let's actually put up B-roll to emphasize what I'm saying, or to make what I'm saying even more clear. Let's not add B-roll just to add B-roll. Let's add B-roll in a way that adds value to the video. And, that's something that we've been able to improve on over the last, let's say, 6 months or a year. That's taken the videos just to that next level.
That I'm going to reveal to you today, right now, that has me second guessing.
And see how we've used words 3 times in the first 15 seconds, and every time we've used words up on the screen, it's been different. That's not by accident.
Predictions that I made several months ago that we would see disinflation in Q3 or Q4. I'm going to explain this to you in one simple, fast step today. Let's start with going over consumer purchasing power. Now, we know why we've had inflation.
Okay, there you go. So this is more like a traditional B-roll that we'd have in a TV show where you've got two people that are, let's say, engaged in dialogue, and the three cameras, you've got a shot, you're going between this shot, this shot, this shot. And then while they're speaking, you're cutting to B-roll that doesn't have any people, but it's some sort of it's a completely different shot that backs up what they're saying. And that would be considered B-roll. And that's why if you've ever seen a TV show or watched, very good YouTube channels, like from Peter McKinnon or something like that, or YouTube videos, they're always talking about getting B-roll, and you can't have too much B-roll. And they're out there, taking the camera and zooming in. They're getting shots of flowers and people walking and jet airplanes going by. And that's B-roll that you have to include there. So when we're doing a whiteboard video, we're not going to show a picture of a jet going by unless it's something unless I'm specifically talking about like jet fuel, and then they could throw that up there. But what we're doing is we're adding B-roll through charts and through pictures that depict what I'm saying. Let's see. Oh, this is another example. See, we use this one all the time, and it's a great kind of cut to something completely different that you wouldn't expect in a whiteboard video, but yet it adds value to what I'm saying. It's not completely random, but it makes it creative, and it makes it a lot less boring as far as a whiteboard video. So it's just very quick. You don't want a B-roll thing that's like 30 seconds long. I just say that prices are going to infinity and beyond. And Thomas is usually the one that uses that. He'll just take that little teeny clip of Buzz Lightyear, whoever that guy is. You don't want it 30 seconds, maybe 3-4 seconds max. And then you just cut right back to what I'm talking about. But that's a great example of this B-roll that I'm referring to. So I'm not going to play the whole video. I think you guys get my drift here. And really what I wanted to communicate to you guys is, regardless of whether you're creating content, you're starting a brick and mortar business, you're running a brick and mortar business, or you're just trying to, lose weight or just improve somehow. The whole key is to take action. Don't worry about what people think of you, and iterate. Pay attention to the numbers, the analytics. Do more of what works and less of what doesn't. But always be of the mindset that I'm going to. You're going to, and it may sound weird, but you're going to do a lot more and maybe think a lot less. And I'm not saying don't think, but the mistake that I usually see people make is they do 99% thinking and 1% doing, where it should at least be 50-50. And if you can just implement that in whatever it is you're trying to do, I think if you look back in a year or two, you're going to be a lot more successful than you ever thought you could be. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Josh and I are going to be right back here in a few minutes with some actual macro stuff on the housing market. So, as always, make sure that you're standing up for freedom, liberty, free market capitalism. See you in the next video.